Committee, April 7, 2014. The notice requirements provided for in the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied. Notice of this meeting was properly given by transmission to the Asbury Park Press, the Star Ledger, the Independent, and the Two River Times, and by posting at the Middletown Township Municipal Building and filing with the Township Clerk on January 10, 2014. Committeeman Fiore.
Here.
Committeeman Massell.
Here.
Committeeman Sharpenberger.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Sedambrino.
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence to honor the troops serving worldwide, defending our freedoms, constitutions, and way of life. Thank you. Our first item on tonight's agenda, we have a public hearing of proposed ordinance 2014-3106, an ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank per NJSA 40A:4-45.14.
The motion open to the public on 2014-3106. Do we need a motion?
No, you could just say.
Okay. So, does anyone from the public wish to be heard on ordinance 2014-3106? Yes, sir.
Yes, my name's Don Watson, 1 Collinson Drive. I was hoping that you could explain a little bit to the public what a cap bank is and the need to establish one.
Sure. Colin?
This is a standard ordinance that's done before most budget introductions. We have 2 different caps that you have to come in within the limitations of when you do a budget. One's the levy cap. This particular ordinance has to do with the appropriation cap. The appropriation cap is established each year. We get, it's based on the cost of living adjustment. And for example, this year, the increase on appropriations that are within this cap were limited to 0.5%. And you do this ordinance so that you can, anything above the cap that you don't use from year to year, you can bank it. You have 2 years worth of bank cap. So that way, if there is a year, and this is a year that's a good example of it, there was only 0.5% that you could increase inside appropriations. Something like snow removal is within that cap. So therefore, this gives you the ability to take some of the cap that you had from prior years to use it towards this year's appropriations to remain within that limit.
Okay, so the money we paid for snow removal this year was from past year's caps?
We're raising it in this year, but otherwise you'd be limited by how much you could raise appropriations such as that by 0.5%.
Okay.
And obviously something like that went up more than that. Other things as well, but you bank the years that you don't hit that limit, you bank that amount so that you have it in case that you would need it.
Okay, so what did we do at last year's cap bank and the year before?
They were left in there to be saved in case you needed them. Then if you don't use them, they go away after the second year.
Okay, so we didn't use any of it for the snow removal for this year?
Yes, we had to use some of the bank for this year.
Okay, we didn't use any of it? Or we didn't use all of it for snow removal?
No, there's still some remaining that'll be banked for next year.
Okay, I think that explains it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other? Yes, sir.
Leo Christoffoli, 121 Cranberry Court, Shady Oaks. I think I'm looking at sheet 3B, parenthesized 1, which has the explanation for the tax levy cap calculations and the appropriation caps calculation. What are you voting on? What does this hearing propose to lead to a vote on? This whole page, on the left side or the right side?
It's the left side.
The left side?
Yeah.
The appropriation
Yes.
and not the tax levy? All right, I'm
No.
sorry. Okay.
No.
If this appropriation cap plan calculation is voted favorably in the affirmative, does that then look to the second half of the page for the tax levy.
No, they're two different calculations. This ordinance has only to do with the appropriation cap, so that the amount that you see at the bottom where it says amount under cap, that would then be put into a bank in case it was needed in the next 2 years. That's the only way that you're allowed to bank.
Can I direct your attention to the levy cap calculation down where it says the mid-page, maximum allowable amount to be raised by taxation.
Right.
That says 47.
Right, the right side is a separate calculation. What you do to the left side on the appropriation cap does not have any influence on what happens on the right side on that calculation.
Then it says below that, amount to be raised by taxation for municipal purposes. And there's my calculation is, there's a $796,110 difference when you subtract that.
Right.
It's written down on the page.
Right.
How does that get accounted for in the cap bank for whatever years, 2011,
Well, this is-
2012, 2013?
That side of it is the levy cap calculation. The levy cap calculation automatically has a bank, and that bank lasts for 3 years. So whatever you don't use, it goes into a levy cap bank that's available for the next 3 years' budgets.
So that would be in the tax levy, the tax levy cap bank, there would be money there for percentage, not real cash, credit, whatever.
Right, what that would allow,
Let me just get the point in my, would that money be for 2012, 2013, 2014?
no, that particular bank is being created in this year's budget, 2014. It would then go into a levy cap bank that would be available for the 2015, 16, or 17 budget if you needed it to exceed the amount to be raised that's limited by the 2% levy cap. Here in Middletown, traditionally, you've banked money each year that's gone into the bank and has not been used.
Last question. Can you, in one budget, use all the money in the cap bank for all 3 years?
You could if you needed to, yes.
Thank you very much.
Any other members of the public? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, just a few questions.
Ms. Baum, we have your name and address.
I'm sorry, Linda Baum, 19 May Court, and I'll stand up so you can hear me.
Great, thank you.
I just want to make sure I understand how the percentages are actually banked. My understanding is that what you're banking is a dollar amount where it's a percentage of whatever current operating budget, and it's the dollar amount that we're
Right.
saying, okay, that's what we can, that dollar amount is what we can use or
Right,
increase
you
our
perform a
operating.
calculation. When you do this ordinance, it raises it to 3.5%. You do a calculation based on that, whatever you don't use between what's inside the cap for the appropriations and what the calculation is what goes into the bank.
Okay. And also, when we talk about what our percentage increases are we including this, or is this in addition to whatever our tax increases?
Now,
or
when we talk about
operating
the increases, it's the numbers that are in the budget. This is a separate calculation that does use the numbers in the budget, but does not have any impact on those numbers. What those numbers are is what we've already discussed.
Okay. And also this 0.5%, you said is based on the COLA, the appropriation cap. So I guess any leftover percentage there can then be banked. The same way any leftover percentage in the levy, of the normal levy cap, can be banked, and the calculation is similar.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? None being heard, a motion to close the public and move to approve ordinance 2014-3106. Second.
Committeeman Fury.
Yes.
Committeeman Sutton.
Yes.
Committeeman Sharpenburg.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sedambrino.
Yes.
Motion carries to approve ordinance on second and final hearing. At this time, I'd like to ask the Township Committee to adopt a consent agenda, which would include resolutions 14-117, through 14-119.
Motion to approve consent agenda, please.
Second.
Committeeman Fiore.
Yes.
Committeeman Mansell.
Yes.
Committeeman Sharpenberger.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sedambrino.
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt consent agenda. At this time, we have Resolution 14-116, resolution authorizing payment of bills for April 7, 2014.
Motion to approve 14-116. Second.
Committeeman Fiore.
Yes.
Committeeman Mansell.
Yes.
Committeeman Sharpenberger.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sedambrino.
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt Resolution 14-116. Items for April 21st, the El Capital Budget, Resolution 14-106 for public hearing on the 2014 municipal budget, and Resolution 14-107, public hearing on the 2014 solid waste budget. We'll have certificates of appreciation and proclamations for acknowledging the Middletown Police Department accreditation, acknowledging location of the Middletown 350 time capsule, designating May 2014 as Buddy Poppy Month, designated May 4th through the 10th as 2014 as Municipal Clerks Week, designating May 11th through May 17th, 2014 as Police Week, designating May 2014 as Older Americans Month, declaring Middletown as Pink Town during the month of May in recognition of Paint the Town Pink, and declaring National Day of Prayer as May 1st, 2014. We'll have approval of minutes for January 2014. We'll have consent agenda, which would include resolutions, bingo, and raffle, and volunteer firefighter applications. I don't know if you, at this time, you would like to have a small presentation of the system that we have here tonight?
Yes, where's Mr.
Okay, all right.
Just so that everyone understands, the system that you see behind the committee and the system here was a planned upgrade to the space, mostly in accordance with OEM. And in order to explain what we have our director of MIS here.
How you doing, everybody? I'm Todd Costello, if you don't know me already, Director of IT. What we did was we basically took a lot of the ideas from, like Mr. Sandino said, with the OEM needs in mind. Basically, when we were here and for Hurricane Sandy, the really need for a true emergency operations center really came forth. And what we did was just starting with certain things with power, uninterruptible power, so we don't lose it. Basically, off the generators, basically with our phones, not tripping on the wires. Basically, when you're having people sitting here for 24 hours a day, imagine a crisis, you really need the tools to do this. And basically, because a conference room really needs the tool, basically there's simple things like just having cable TV. Basically, if you're using Weather Channel, basically weather updates during snowstorms, when big plow events or any type of events like that, basically you need that. So what we did basically also, you have to make this very, very user-friendly, very convenient, very easy to use. Basically, you want push-button technology. So basically what we created was a touch panel screen. So this way, anybody who's in the room can actually use this. So for instance, let's say we have a desktop PC within the room right here, and this is what they call a smart board. The smart board basically has interactive. Basically, you see you guys on Weather Channel and stuff like that. You can actually touch the smart board basically right on it. It becomes an interactive whiteboard, basically with meeting planning and everything. So the idea is basically to make all this a lot of collaborative, documenting, recording ability. So in terms of audio, presentation, you can do audio conferencing within here, basically through the speakers in the ceiling, as you see. Anything we can do up on that TV, we can do on here, we can vice versa switch. So the idea is that so another vendor comes in, we want to present or anything with health insurance, anything in here. The idea is that you can use the room not just for emergencies, but you can use it for a multifaceted that you may use.
Tell us about the grant that was applicable to.
Well, we used the 911 system that we had. We used for our police department. There was some money left over that we had for that a couple of years ago that we allocated the majority for this project. And that was pretty much how this project got funded.
Yeah, I mean the origins of getting this system will really actually go back further than Sandy. Really, it was 2010. If you remember, we had the Emergency Operations Center functioning, and one of the things we realized we needed was the ability to track plowing. And what this system will do, and actually it's on your agenda tonight, to rebid with our GPS system. And with that board there, or either of these boards, we'll be able to, on a map, follow real time where plows are, what streets have been plowed, what streets are next, and that sort of thing. And so we'll be, when someone calls and say, hey, when's my street going to get plowed, we could literally say they're around the corner, or in the next street over, that sort of thing. And we'll be able to see it graphically on the map. The system even allows you to tell when a truck's plow is actually down versus up visually.
So one thing to take home to your neighbors is that if you call up and you say that the plow hasn't been by, we know if it has.
Yeah, and the ability to do things like that, to be able to map safe routes. One of the things we experienced actually during Hurricane Irene was that there were some roads that were impassable, and we were fortunate at that time to be able to communicate with people out in the field and reroute emergency service vehicles, but it'll happen a lot quicker now. We have to reroute ambulances or fire engines on their way to or from an incident. We'll know graphically where routes are blocked or impassable and reroute people instantly. So there's a lot of applicability. This is the emergency operations center when we do have the events like that. And we all thought we never really needed that often, but we've had hurricanes now for 2 years in a row. So that's kind of incredible. And we have, since we have a generator here, we never really lost power. But it'll just give us the ability to get, the basic thing we learned from the last few events going back to 2010 is that the one thing that people want is information. They aren't so bothered if you give them bad news, they just want some news. And so this gives you the ability to communicate with people in the community as exactly what's going on, almost moment by moment. And that's really what we learned, that's what's valuable to people, is to be kept up to date with what's happening, not be in the dark. I don't mean literally. That's what this will do. I think it'll give us a lot of tools to make these, we joke about this, we hope we'll never have to use it type of thing, but we probably will. And we'll be able to give people a lot of, I think, comfort when we're dealing with situations, even just bad snowstorms. Just being able to tell people when they're likely to get plowed out.
We still get comments from people about the texts that they've been getting through the snowstorms, about how great it was. That really stuck with them throughout this winter. So this is going to be great if we can even up the ante a little bit with information.
The irony is it the money was planned in 2009. And we've had it took a while to get the 911 system in place, and this was only going to be done if we had money left over to do this. And we've had 3 major events since then, plus this winter. Odds are we're going to need it for events in the near future. So, but it's a really great system. Todd, has done a great job with coordinating with the contractors. They're in here almost every day. I think they were still in here today, fine tuning this. And we haven't even gotten all the tutorial yet on how to use it, but it'll be great.
The GPS notwithstanding use of the facility of this room, but the GPS that we voted on this evening will also give, from a workplace management perspective of DPW, the ability to tell when leaves have been picked up and brush has been picked up, correct? So we're using the same unit, so you'll have that ability to real time through the GIS system to do that, correct? Absolutely. So it's multifaceted, but I can tell you that in 2010, when this became an ad hoc command center, when we just all decided to sit down and say it's 4 days later and crews, we need to figure this out. This has become a real nerve center for every region.
And the thing is that what we find is that the people who work in the emergency operations center, there's someone here from virtually every division, police, fire, first aid, OEM. They all have computers, they all have communication system, so everyone can, connect wirelessly or hardwired or wirelessly to the internet. There's phone jacks and plugs in all of these spots. These are speakers, microphones, speakers in the ceiling. And we had a meeting here a week or two ago where Todd was actually not in town. He was out of town, but he had to be in the meeting. And it was like he was sitting at the table. The sound was so good. And he was utilizing the smart board from his computer where he was, and we could see what he was doing out there. So it's really a good system, and it'll benefit the town for a long time to come, that's for sure.
Thank you, Doug.
Good, no problem.
Thank you.
Our first item for discussion, we have resolution authorizing payment under the debt service agreement for Monmouth County Regional Health.
Something actually went down.
A resolution authorizing cancellation of mortgage, block 972, lot 109. A resolution authorizing payment of outstanding engineering fees from escrow for M.J. Crosby. A change order correction for the FEMA eligible housing demolition and private property debris removal.
Can you just speak about that for a second? With the
I can speak about
program.
There was a change order done, I believe it was last month, and what happened was the total contract amount from bid was erroneously changed and reflected a higher number. And so this is just correcting it back, this is showing that the original contract amount and the final contract amount, just a correction.
We have the change order for roadway storm-related damage repairs. Change order for 2012 road resurfacing east. RCA's for Sandy Housing.
Can you speak on that, please? The RCA's for the Sandy housing?
Well, there's been some discussion about possibly, I think it's Assemblyman O'Scanlan has talked about the idea of legislation that would allow RCA's to be used for Sandy-related repairs to homes. I haven't seen it yet, but
I thought RCA's had been done away with regard to color. So would this be a reintroduction of that?
It would be what I think what the proposals on the table is that they would allow that was eliminated by statute. And the last time they amended the Fair Housing Act back in about 2008, I want to say, thereabouts. The proposal, although there's nothing in written form yet, draft legislation written form, would allow for funds remaining in affordable housing trust funds and different municipal affordable housing trust funds, I believe. Assemblyman O'Scanlan, Mayor Hornick, and some others have discussed using those funds to help, redevelop homes damaged by Sandy.
If I may, Deputy Mayor, I asked for this to be put on this evening in consultation and speaking with Assemblyman O'Scanlan, and also seeing an article in which there seems to be some bipartisan support with Mayor Hornick out of Marlborough and Assemblyman O'Scanlan with the proposed reintroduction of RCA's to use rather than building new affordable units throughout a municipality, being able to have municipalities, either send a contribution to Sandy damaged areas like Union Beach, Port Monmouth, and also having the township being able to do the same. So I spoke to Assemblyman O'Scanlan's office this afternoon. Actually spoke to the Assemblyman himself. He has an actual bill that he is sponsoring that he expects to be put into legislation within the week. So I'm hoping to have that bill in my hands for the attorney to put a resolution supporting the specific bill that he hopes to have bipartisan support for. It is my opinion that there would be no better use of affordable housing resources than to actually help rehabilitate the most affordable housing area of Monmouth County's Bayshore, and the people that, clearly have suffered through Superstorm Sandy, the insurance nightmare, and the rebuilding process and the like. So I have a tremendous amount of hope that the legislature in Trenton will actually see something practical, and will see to it that we, have the ability in the state of New Jersey to help those areas and create, affordable housing in Sandy damaged areas, which we're going to be, unfortunately, the victims. We just talked about demolitions and things of that nature. Townships are going to be the victims of a lot of potential abandonment. I think we got an email last week of one street that has 6 abandoned houses that people just walked away. So what better way to build affordable housing than in certain areas than to have to be forced into major developments at locations that are really palatable to the community at the planning board level, as Mr. Keating can attest. So I hope the committee will support this resolution next meeting, and then Mr. Nelson will have more to put very shortly.
Thank you.
We have an ordinance establishing a filming permit.
This was a proposal that there's a draft form of ordinance that I provided to you all at the request of Mayor Murray, who obviously couldn't be here this evening. And it's modeled after a lot of different municipalities. Ordinances relating to commercial filming permits would not affect anybody, personally filming or school students filming or anything of that nature. But this would establish a permit process for commercial filming, which has been seemingly increasing in frequency. And there are certain costs and interruptions of roadways and things associated with that, that this would seek to address. First, the permitting process as to the hours of operation and locations and so forth, so as not to interrupt any public thoroughfares and rights of way and so forth. And then permit fees to cover the costs associated with traffic control if necessary and so forth. And then also addressing insurance and related issues of that nature for commercial filming productions that take place within the township's borders. So there's a draft ordinance you can all take a look at. I believe Mayor Murray would like to have this for consideration for introduction at your next meeting, provided any comments that you could provide to my office or any markups before introduction.
Thank you.
Under purchasing, we have uniforms for recycling and fire departments, road materials for public works, electrical maintenance and repair contract for public works, a plumbing and maintenance and repair contract for public works, GPS system for township vehicles.
Can I just ask a question, Ted? I'm sorry, this isn't important, but I see a purchasing of a 4-ton asphalt recycling hot patch trailer.
Right.
Can you give a little bit of an explanation on what the...
Right, that's it's a machine that allows you to you mill out asphalt, cut out asphalt from the road. Obviously, the roads are in terrible shape this spring due to the weather. This allows you to take the asphalt out of the road, cut it out, put it into an asphalt recycler. It's basically a big oven. It tumbles it, you add some oils to it, and actually produces an asphalt material that you can put back into the road again.
And this is in lieu of a cold patch.
In lieu of a cold patch, which doesn't hold very well on any road where there's any kind of traffic law.
So this isn't this isn't for small pothole repair. This is for a larger.
It could be for both. The hot box on the machine actually will keep the asphalt hot and soft for up to a week, and you can use it on small potholes, or you can use it on bigger sections as well.
Do we have any of these currently in?
We don't know. It's long overdue that we use one of these.
My only question is, I've recently seen, and of course, the city that has all the cool tools usually is the city of Newark, reasons notwithstanding. But I recently read a story in a newspaper regarding almost, I guess they called it their pothole killer, so to speak, where it's basically a vehicle which seems to do this same thing and does hundreds of them in a day and only needs one person to have one, I guess, one person to manage it. I think it's a hot patch system from what I've seen. So if we looked at that, we're looking at this. I don't know the cost of either, so.
We have
one
actually,
could be 10 times more than the other.
I think what you're speaking about is, it's called the hot plate machine, where it actually melts the asphalt. And it's the same kind of thing, except that one actually, I always call it like a big toaster that drops down onto the pavement, melts the pavement in place,
An arm almost in front of a
and then you
truck.
can rake it. And this machine that we're buying now would go along with that, would keep the hot material, the extra material that you need. We're looking maybe to purchase something like that soon.
It just seemed like they're doing an awful lot in one day with one person.
We've actually, another town has one of those that we've used with them, and we've used a contractor for that kind of work, and it moves very fast. And the repairs are seamless, they look like it looks like new asphalt.
There's no shortage of potholes, that's my answer.
There's no shortage, that's for sure.
We're going to get access to one of those machines.
We kind of have that in the works hopefully soon.
It sounds like we'll be able to repair the potholes faster and more economically,
Right.
and they'll last longer.
Absolutely.
And a lot of the asphalt's recycled. It's not brand new stuff, we're just taking the stuff out of the road that's damaged, refinishing it essentially.
And we could do this in any weather, at any time of night, and we won't disrupt traffic. It'll stop traffic from being blocked. It'll be a very valuable machine.
Thanks.
And we have the leaf and wood mulch removal.
And that's every year we have an amount of leaf mulch, which is from our compost site. Leaves that are collected every fall, composted through the year, and we sell the material that's produced from that process. And we also have the wood mulch that's produced from the brush that we're collecting now, when we collected last year and through the hurricane. That material is ground up into a wood mulch that, last year we actually had to pay for it, to have it removed, because it was such an excess and a glut in the market due to the hurricane. This year we held on to it through the winter in hopes that the price would go down. Unfortunately, we were able to receive money for this time, instead of having to pay to get rid of it. So both the leaf and wood mulch. So we're looking forward to clearing that out of our yard and out of the compost state.
Just another source of revenue.
It is.
Thank you.
We have private athletic fields.
Oh, Tony, can you comment on that, please?
We had received an inquiry from a property owner about the possibility of putting some soccer fields, well, I should say sports fields, primarily soccer, I suppose soccer, on private property. And it's kind of an unusual request, and actually, if you look at our zoning ordinance, it's not really addressed, because as you can imagine, most recreational facilities like that are on public parks. So the ordinance doesn't really have a good mechanism to address what essentially would become a recreational facility on private property. So we've received a request to consider an ordinance amendment which would make it an allowed use. We've had some discussions about it. We certainly think it's a good use of property, because it'll really, in this particular case and in other cases, I'm sure, it's the other option for the landowners who own large enough tracts of land is to just subdivide them and develop them. And so this would expand potentially recreational opportunities. It's just open fields. It's no mega sports complex or anything like that. It's just a few open fields.
Non-lighted.
Well, I haven't seen a proposal yet, but I would anticipate it would be non-lighted. So if the committee's interested in pursuing that, we were going to meet the next week or two with Jason to talk about developing some standards and drafting an ordinance, and if it's something the committee's comfortable with, we could introduce an ordinance to allow it.
The property owner that addressed the township with this idea already has a subdividable property.
Oh, yeah.
So this would, if the committee did go through with an ordinance change and allow this property owner to do that, this would be in lieu of a development.
Would be in lieu of development, and actually from a recreational standpoint, as we all know, we have no difficulty permitting out all of our fields. So it's not like it'll put a dent in our permits, the permits we collect for fields, because we have more demand than we can handle, or just about most of the time. So a few extra fields would be actually somewhat beneficial to us, because it'll provide a little bit of relief for people to use these fields and take a little pressure off of our fields.
It's also additional fields that the municipality is not maintaining, since we don't own it.
Yeah, it would be completely owned and operated, run, permitted, scheduled by the private entity, not the township. So, yeah. It's, again, it's a very unique idea. Not too many people are willing to use their own property for a recreational use.
Which is not necessarily a highest and best use for that.
But absolutely does not.
For that property,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
but it's a highest and best use for the residents of the township.
Right. And what would happen, of course, is that if we were to draft an ordinance to make this an allowable use, someone would still have to make an application to the planning board, or site plan application, to make sure that they, deal with grading and drainage issues, parking, those sorts of things. Just like any other land development process, they'd have to go to the planning board. But right now, there's no standards to go by, so it would be difficult, and someone would actually have to go to the zoning board if they wanted to do it now without an ordinance being in place, and that would make it difficult to do. So I think in this way, we can control the standards and the limits of disturbance and those sorts of things, so we have a little bit more control over how it would turn out, just in case somebody else in the future decides to do the same thing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to add something for discussion, just to throw it out there. I mentioned to the mayor earlier about the possibility of looking into an electric charging station, maybe on par with the natural gas fueling facility. Not to pick out a location, but something on those lines. And the reason I'm thinking about this too is it seems to be slowly creeping up to the wave of the future with electric cars. A friend of mine bought a Tesla, and they give a map across the country of all the Tesla charging stations. So I think it would be worth looking into, either with JCP&L or one of the energy providers, or Tesla, to see if maybe there's some revenue opportunities for the town. And there may be a similar situation, they'll pay for the installation, with certain provisions in it for public use. But it would be worth it.
Would that be manned? I'm not even...
Well,
I don't-
the CNG station is an unmanned
It is
station.
unmanned, yeah.
It's a station, you take your credit card, and based on the compressed natural gas rate, you swipe the card. It has since they made the presentation was made at the planning board, multi-safeties with regard to compressed natural gas, so I suspect this would have something, or can have something similar.
Right, and the way it works, it needs 20 minutes of charging time for half a charge. And you can go, 100 miles or so on it. So whatever it is, that's almost secondary to providing the service.
We had discussed doing this, actually, if you remember back a couple of years ago when solar made sense.
Right.
We had talked about doing solar panels at the train station, and incorporating into that a couple of spaces that could be charging stations. It could still be done at the train station.
Priority.
It'd be a great location, really,
Right.
because there's plenty of room. If you have to sit there for 20 minutes while your car charged, you can, because you're not going to bother anybody.
Yeah.
In fact, you go over to the art center while you're waiting. There's lots of room there, and maybe that's a place we could look at doing something like that. Would really bother no one, and there's loads of room, so power's there, so.
As long as we're all not required to drive Teslas, then.
No, but you see the prices.
As long as I can sort my kid's Power Wheels up, and good shape. That Barbie Jeep dies in 3 hours.
I think it's a fantastic next step and an easy extension of the CNG station as an offering to township residents.
And everything will improve, the mileage on it, the length of time of charging, but right now it's in its infancy, so it's a little bit cumbersome, but clearly they're selling, so
And it may be a scenario where JCP&L will spend $20,000-$25,000 on potentially a solar tree that's going to generate 5 to 7 kW and going to generate enough power for a charging station.
I didn't think of that, that's definitely a possibility. Okay, we'll reach out for sure.
Yeah.
You also want to discuss Kings Highway East? the
Yeah.
intersection.
Right. And one thing I just wanted to point out, and just, I guess more informational, because we discussed this at the Landmarks Commission, and naturally they had, many dogs in this race. And a couple of things that they were concerned about is the cemetery there on the corner by Christ Church is eroding, and I think it's eroding from every truck that cuts it too close. So I tried to reassure them that there's not going to be any more property taken from it because somebody's going to lose some digits if it goes much further back, so.
Yeah, I'm a little afraid to see what's going to happen if it goes another foot.
So that, they just wanted to, I guess, verify that there isn't going to be any taking in that corner?
No, in fact, we discussed this in our meeting with them, and one of the reasons they want to do this is that it will minimize the continued hitting of that embankment as people are making that turn, because they'll have a little bit more room here, and I think they're going to treat that, they're going to do a curve or something along there, so.
There's no control there
Stop
now to
happening.
stop anybody from going for it.
So, I mean, that was it, they were a little bit concerned. So Kings Highway itself is not going to be widened at all, except for
It was 3 feet.
3 feet immediate
Right where that
across the
embankment
the
intersection.
junction box, the power box, right?
Just, well, it's more for traffic that's heading west on Kings Highway. If you're stopped to turn left, there'll be room for cars to go around.
They were concerned because because it drops off there.
Right.
You need to have a space so you can have a guardrail so that cars don't just drop off there. That's really, and I would think it was an ADA issue too, at that intersection,
Right.
getting the ramps in. You have to have ramps to cross the street at the walkway. That was so it's only that short stretch right across from the intersection itself. There'd be a little bit
It's only 3 feet.
pavement widening.
Okay.
But it doesn't add any lanes or anything like that to the road. The road will function.
What is the timeline for this much needed, long overdue light?
Well, if they get SHPO approval from the state this year, then I think it's a 2014 project. That's
15. Oh, 14.
14. Yeah.
Is there a length of time from start to finish?
I don't know that, but we are meeting with the county in a couple weeks, they'll find out.
Would be a traffic delay or any sort of issues while they were doing it?
I imagine while they're doing the work, yes, there'll probably be a little bit of traffic control having to be out there. There'll be some work involved. It's not a big job, fortunately, because there is no major pavement widening. Just a couple of boxes and the traffic signals and some striping and painting is the biggest part of it.
And SHPO just has to sign off on the design, I guess.
The design, the 3-foot issue and the design of the light stanchions.
You know what, just one more thing while I'm thinking of it. I was thinking, and just because of a report that came out, maybe considering doing a resolution supporting voter ID, photo ID for voting. There was a report out of North Carolina where 35,000 people voted twice. The same person, same social security. And during the election, I had a friend of mine call me, text me and said, I just voted and they didn't ask me for photo ID. I said, they don't have to. He was appalled. And you hear this over and over again. People assume that it's the law. You have to have voter ID to pick up tickets at a minor league baseball game. Something as important as voting. You have to have photo ID to sign up for food stamps. So every lame reason that you get for not having to show photo ID for voting is laughable, So I think it's something that we should at least, take a position on and, ensure the sanctity of elections as much as possible with a simple thing that everybody has. My mother-in-law, 87 years old, has photo ID. She went down, she never drove a car in her life. So it's so bogus to argue not to show photo ID.
T, anybody?
And I'm sure the resolutions are out there. And states who have done it have cut way down on the fraud. And the only way to know if there's fraud or not is to have it, because how do you check that? If people say who they are, I could say I'm Joe Bag of Donuts and go and vote, and they have no way of disputing it. So, and I promise that's it.
Okay. We have Township Committee committee comments?
Thank you, Michelle.
I'll be brief, Deputy Mayor. Just a reminder to everyone, it is Autism Awareness Month here in April, and I don't know if anyone recently heard the statistics, but 1 in 68 children are diagnosed with autism, which is incredible, but it's not as incredible as in New Jersey, that it was 1 in 48, and now that has been reduced to 1 in 45 children are diagnosed with autism, and it's something that we need to take a serious look at. I've spoken with Congressman Smith, who is on the pulse of this, and we need to have more research done here in New Jersey, and we need to keep that, folks aware of that. On a lighter note, I was at the MYAA parade. I'm going to leave that for my deputy mayor and Michelle from Murder, but it was a beautiful day, the biggest turnout I think we've had, a little chilly, but free hot dogs in the spot.
Thank you, Committeeman Fury.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. A few things to Committeeman Nasel's point, with April being Autism Awareness Month. As a matter of fact, when you exit the building this evening, you'll see that Town Hall actually is blue, and turn the lights blue for in recognition of Autism Awareness Month, as has the Art Center, if I'm not mistaken, with the tree. And I know that was actually an idea that when I was mayor, I had a resident come in and bring that to my attention. I wish I remember her name so I could let her know that we finally were able to do it. She showed me Niagara Falls and a couple other things that blue. So I thank the township administration and Ted and building folks for doing that, because as Committeeman Nassel said, it is definitely something that continues to become more and more prevalent. Autism is definitely something that more research is needed. And bringing awareness, I think, is the key to really finding what the costs are and everything. So thank you to the administrator, those who were able to do that during this very while. I also attended did not attend the MYAA parade because there were dueling opening days, and the mayor and I actually attended the Lincroft parade, so we had 3 at one and 2 at the other. But a great day there also. It was really nice to cut a ribbon on field number 3 at Lincroft, and it's something that the partnership with the township and Ted and Janet and everyone, somebody's been working very diligently, Vic, to get that field rehabilitated to something that the league can completely utilize for all age groups was very well received. So thank you all involved. Ted, there's still a little bit of work that needs to be done over there to make sure that all of the work stays where it is. So I'll tell you that after the meeting. But a great day at the parade. The other thing I just wanted to mention regarding events, the mayor and I actually were invited out by the fire department to Sandy Hook on Sunday morning, 8 a.m. So I think they got there at about 6, the fire trucks. But it was a really neat drill and exercise where Middletown, as well as Bayshore towns from Keyport all the way down to Highlands, Seabright, were part of this massive drill where basically they ran 2 1-mile runs of hose, of large diameter hose, from the Coast Guard station all the way through Fort Hancock, and they were drafting and practicing drafting water out of the bay to utilize for fires. And if you remember the Seaside fire, that's something that clearly needed to be done and kind of took a while to get done. So they were actively preparing for that and did a great job in combination with the crews from the Coast Guard to do it. So just a tremendous operation, a tremendous volunteer effort by our fire department, who actually had so many members there that they ran their own 1-mile line, and then the Bayshore towns ran the second line. So, a real credit and testament to a great group of volunteers who are always trying to be ahead of the curve for the residents of Middletown. So, I already spoke about the RCAs for Sandy Housing, so I think with that said, just finish it there. Deputy Mayor, thank you, and appreciate you leading the meeting this evening.
Thank you, Committee Reviewer Dr. Scharfenberger.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to piggyback a little bit on the NYA parade. I think they had a record turnout, and they have very healthy sign-ups, almost 1,000 kids. I think they're up to 977 at this point, which is great to see that younger kids are still going out for baseball and outdoor sports than they are. It's a great league, they do a great job, and the facilities out there, they look fantastic. Everybody really did a nice job in getting the fields ready, and I know the weather has been fairly uncooperative as of late, so for them to look that good this early in the game is really great. They gave out 2 scholarships, $1,500 each, I think, to a boy and a girl who had once played in the league, and they had to write an essay, and it was really nice to see that they're so involved with the kids even after they're out of the league. And last thing is just, I had my lecture at the MAC a week and a half ago, and it went so well, they asked me to do it again. So if you all were sick, or you overslept, or everything else, you get another chance. Hopefully in June. It was really a lot of fun. With a great turnout for a horribly rainy early Saturday morning. So a lot of fun, and it really fits right within the 350th anniversary. So it was a great day all around. That's all I have to say.
Let me just add to that, because I was there, and everyone should go. I'm telling you, it was really, really good. I'm not just making it up, it was excellent. The people in the audience were like enthralled with the story that Jerry told about the study done on the Old First Church. It was just amazing, and if you missed it, don't miss it the second time around. It's really, really that good. It was a lot of fun.
Well, thank you. So now I'm upset that I didn't go. I was home with the flu. But I appreciate you offering that up again. So we have an opportunity.
Different
to
topic.
go.
We have an embarrassment of riches here as far as archaeological sites that I've worked on. So I can do this. I could go right to 400 years.
Thank you very much. I have 2 items for this evening. One is the MYAA attendance at the parade this past Saturday with my colleagues, Dr. Scharfenberger and Committeeman Massell. It was a little windy that day, not too bad, but I'm continuing to be amazed at the number of the increased amount of participants from year to year that both MYAA and Lincroft Little League have in their league. Just fantastic. And certainly a testament to all the volunteers that we have on board in order to continue to grow these programs and continue to have locations for our youth to learn and to grow with the 80-plus township fields that we have at our disposal. So there are no other townships or municipalities that come close in terms of offering that number of fields and maintaining the number of fields and our ability to be able to offer them to programs like MYAA and Lincroft Little League. The only regret that I have on Saturday is that, of course, they were both timed similarly, and none of us could attend both. So we split up 3 and 2 different locations. The other item that I have is on the 31st of March, I had the benefit of attending a ribbon cutting at the E-Medical offices, which are right across from the 25th year anniversary of the E-Medical offices, right across from the municipal building. That was actually the first time I was in the facility. They'd been there for 25 years. They've decided to renew their lease to maintain about 15 or 20 jobs within the community, which is fantastic that we can maintain those number of jobs. And they spent about $500,000 renovating the facility. So between an improvement to our infrastructure, maintenance of about 15 to 20 permanent jobs here in the community, and a continuation of a good neighbor that's been here for 25 years, it was a great ribbon cutting. We'll have more of those. So without further ado, we'd like to open it to the public comment session. We would ask that you state your name and address, please, for the record, and please keep your comments to 5 minutes. Yes, sir.
My name is Austin Canaday, 70 Whitman Drive, Red Bank. I want to first thank the committee for doing a great job. Keep it up. Mr. Deputy Mayor, filling in very nicely. I want to thank Anthony in particular for the work on Shadow Lake. I live there. I swim in Shadow Lake. I still do. And as I said to Mr. Wilson, no, not in the winter, I swim in the water, but in the summer, I swim in the lake.
You swim when it gets warmer, right?
Well, a little warmer. I'm here because there's a gentleman who had written a letter quite a while ago about a man who used Shadow Lake as a swimming hole. I happen to swim in the lake, so that kind of intrigued me. His name is Vince Campbell. He's right here next to me. I've only been on Shadow Lake for 12 years. He's been on Lake for 30 years. He wrote a letter. I'm going to give you guys, committee members, I'm sure you don't want to read it now, but Steve, Jerry, Anthony, and Deputy Mayor.
Thank you.
He's going to say a few words how he feels about the lake. And again, I want to thank you. I hope this year we'll stock it again, we hope. And please, please use the pesticides because the lake is getting so shallow. Now the vegetation is taking over. The lake is dying. I hate to say it. My dock has gone 3.5 feet from the time I bought it. Vince's dock went 25 feet from his dock to down to like half. So, and the vegetation is now, because now it can't grow because it's shallow water. And if you see the part of where the village people, the lake is disappearing. It's such a jewel. You don't realize what a jewel you have there. I love the kids, I love the police, I love the work you guys doing, but please don't forget this jewel. Please, don't let it die. Vinny, you want to say a few words? Vincent Campbell, the author of the letter.
Can I just have your address, please, sir? For the
73 Manning Street.
Thank you, sir.
The lake, there's a plan that Mother Nature has for this lake. It becomes a bog and then a swamp and then finally a meadow. And 15 minutes after that, Hovnanian's going to build an A&P on it. But there's things you could do about it. Dr. Stevens didn't want the township to have his property. That's why he sold it to somebody else. And he had good reason to suspect that you guys would screw it up, and you have. You put fishing piers across the last cove, and you've impeded the flow of the water to the point where there's now an island growing in front of it with trees on it. If you had stuck the thing the other way, it wouldn't have done anything. There used to be a hole on the side, the left-hand side of the Stevenson Bridge, and it was very, very deep. And for years, the silt and everything that came down ended there. Well, it would have been a simple thing to back up a dump truck in a Bay City, take a couple of yards out of here, and you wouldn't have this condition now. You've got a boat ramp that people can't use because they can't launch the boat. There's not enough water for them to get it out of the boat ramp. And as I say, it was really stupid to put the floating docks across the cove when they should have been put out off the point. The only way you're going to save this lake is to dredge it. And if you really want to save it, you should bulkhead it. And the only way you'd be able to do that with any kind of intelligent operation, you'd have to hire somebody to teach county workers how to do bulkheads. I got a property on the south side of the lake, and everybody there was probably on the banks of a stream at one time. I know my house was. I've got a better than a full building lot, 25 feet by 100 and some odd feet, that's underwater. It amused me when I bought the place 30 years ago, buying underwater realty. But if somebody was going to put a bulkhead out there on a property line, something substantially erected, I would need a lot of backfill. And then when they dredge the lake, that'd be a great place to put it. And that would work all the way down the south side of that lake where people have property that predates the lake. It was a creek. If you read what I wrote, the guy used to swim in the creek when he was a child. He was in his 80s when I met him. And I wanted to know how come if the lake was 11 feet deep, I had 25 feet. And he told me that when there were kids swimming in the creek, that was a swimming hole. But it's going in like crazy. I mean, it's that water chestnut stuff you've got. It's incredible. I mean, you can't believe that Mother Nature can make something that looks so much like plastic that's anchoring that stuff in the bottom. And one of the things I've noticed is if you put rope in the water during the winter time, you'll find all of those things attached to the rope. You could take netting and put it in, and all of those seed pods that are going to reroot,
The next year.
they'd be out on the rope.
Well, thank you very much for your comments, and I know that both of you gentlemen know at this point that the Township Committee had gone out to bid twice, Mr. Keating?
Correct.
Twice to dredge portions of the lake, and on both occasions, the bids came in over budget and substantively over budget.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have to export the stuff. If you bulkheaded, you could use it as backfill. I mean,
Well,
We tried that.
We tried that
right,
for a decade.
they're DEP regulations.
It's never going to bother anybody. If it's on the bottom of the lake, it's certainly not going to bother anybody if it's backfill on a bulkhead with 6 inches of topsoil on
I
it.
agree with you, the DEP doesn't though, and that's the problem. I completely agree. I know bulkheads, I get it, maybe they don't agree.
There are things that we'd love to be able to do to expedite that lake. The problem that we've had is the DEP regulations with regard to
Did the
dredged
EPA tell you to
spoils.
put the floating docks across the last cove?
Well, I don't
Well,
know,
they did.
I don't know the
They
answer.
actually did, and they
actually
funded it
did.
as well. So it was.
If you've got the Stevenson property, you could have just as easily run it out off the point.
So, I mean,
The issue is, we fully understand your concerns. Those docks were there for
Well,
20
like I say,
years.
Mother Nature's got her plan well in order and working on it.
Yeah, well, I grew up on Shadow Lake, grew up on Page Drive, spent my whole life there. I love that lake as much as anybody here. But the fact is what the committee's saying is that there are regulations that we have to follow. It's not, the cost of dredging that lake, we've had these conversations. I was first in line wanting to have that done, but the cost of that was extraordinary. To trek that, we can't just take believe me, I was very passionate about this. We couldn't take the fill and just put it on the Stevenson's track. It had to be trucked out, and we're talking millions of
I
dollars.
thought they said it could be put in drying pits on the Stevenson.
Just until it dried.
Till it dried, and then we have to truck it out. But the budget for this, so I'm just, I appreciate your passion, and, I'm not thrilled with some of the things that were done with a completely different committee 20 years ago either. But the fact is, we have to deal with it now, and we just don't have $5 million in the budget to do it.
Well, you're gonna have a lot less than $5 million in the way of taxes when people don't have a lake anymore.
yes, sir, we thank you for your comments, we understand them. We'd be more than happy to stay after the meeting if you prefer.
I'm just giving you my opinion, that's all.
I appreciate it, but I'd like to be able to move on and see if there are other comments from the public, please.
I just want to introduce
Excuse me.
myself.
Your name and address, please?
Yes. I'm Reverend Eunice Washington. I pastor Clinton Chapel, A Design Church, 210 Red Hill Road. And I just wanted to introduce myself to the committee. I just also wanted to know how the church can be connected to community activities. I just heard about autism. This is Autism Month. And I just wanted to know if we can get notices to the church so that we can go out and participate and support the community.
Well, there are two things. Number one, are you aware of the Middletown app that has been released, I guess, about a month ago, Tony? That Middletown app has information on it with regard to everything that's going on in the town, number one. Number two, it does have a feature called push notifications, correct? Which, when there are events or items that we need to let the users know, they get pushed out onto your cell phone or to your iPad or tablet without you doing anything. So one thing I would encourage you to do is get get the app. There's no charge for it, whether through your iPhone or iPad, or it's supported on Droid and Apple. So it's supported on both applications.
Okay.
Get that app downloaded. You'll be notified of any of the events that go on in town. But additionally, what we would encourage you to do, if it's all right with our administrator, is to come and set a meeting with the administrator. This way, we can have an open line of communication.
Do you have mailings that go out?
We have, if you go on our website, you can sign up for alerts.
Okay.
And so they get sent out weekly, at least, and that kind of keeps you up to date on every, the major things that are going on. And you can look at our agenda for each upcoming meeting to see the items that are going to be discussed. You can see it the prior week usually. And, that's probably the best way to stay current on what's going on. But if you want to schedule a meeting one day, we can sit down and talk a bit more about
Okay,
how we might.
Here's my card, and I'm just happy to be here. This is my first time attending.
We're sorry to hear about Mr. Spradley.
Yes, and I did the memorial service for Mr. Spradley. He's a wonderful man, and so is his wife as well. And I want to let you know we have services on Sunday at 11 o'clock. All are welcome. And is there anything that I can do, being here in the community new, I would like to extend my support to you as well.
Well, thank you very much for coming. And I would be remiss if the mayor would not let me not remind you, this year is our 350th anniversary, and we do have a celebration in connection with the state's anniversary here in Middletown, and that's something that definitely want you to take a look at it, and we definitely want you to take part in with us.
Okay. When is that actual event?
It's a year-round kind of event.
Right, so there are different events that happen throughout the year. As Dr. Scharfenberger mentioned, he gave a talk on the history of the old First Church. So they are throughout the year, but I guess the middle of the year, Tony, we have a date for the celebration.
Celebration is at June 21st at the Art Center, Middletown Art Center.
The other thing, if I may, we also have a community day at the end of September called Middletown Day, which you're welcome to participate in with a little table and food.
I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anything else from the public? Watson.
Hi, name's Don Watson, 1 Collinson Drive. This GPS stuff we're going out to bid on, we're taking bids on Wednesday or something this week.
I think it's next week.
Next week?
I think it's next week.
Yeah, okay. I was just wondering, do all the contractors that we hire to plow streets get GPS units also?
They will. There are some that are attached to the vehicles and some that are mobile, so we can give them to people while they're working.
It'll be a requirement of them having a contract.
Yeah, maybe we could do that through their cell phones or something.
It's actually a device that plugs right into the cigarette lighter, I think.
Oh, yeah, cool. And Ted was talking about that hot patch trailer. I saw the county last week over on Cherry Tree Farm Road using it, and the potholes that they filled, you can hardly tell that they're there. And I saw them down in Little Silver also using it. Seems like a pretty good device. Would be worth the investment, considering you put the cold patch down and 2 days later or 2 cars later, and it's got a pothole again.
Cold patch is definitely temporary.
What, the cold patch?
Yes.
For sure, extremely temporary, right? Also, private sports fields. We already have private sports fields in town on the private schools. I think Oak Hill Academy has private sports fields, correct? And CBA?
The only difference is that they're not leased out for recreational use.
Oh, these people want to lease them out to teams and stuff?
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, good. And I was wondering if all of this equipment that we just purchased in here is going to be used at the new municipal center that we're going to be building?
Absolutely mobile.
Yeah. And is there a date set on when we're going to break ground for that yet?
No, there is not.
Mr. Watson.
I can't wait.
You're gonna have to wait, because there's no date set yet, Tony.
I long for the date too, Don.
Is there a reason why we have departments purchasing furniture already, if there's no date set to break ground?
Well, they're not purchasing furniture for that.
That's what I was led to understand. They're not purchasing.
No, there would be no furniture purchases for a building that doesn't exist. No, so no, the answer is no.
There you go. Thank you.
Simple.
Thank you, Kevin.
Okay.
Also, with the Teslas, a friend of mine just bought a Tesla also, Jerry. And he was saying that Tesla is going to be installing power stations up and down the East Coast between Boston and Washington, D.C. So, if we're thinking of putting one in, maybe we should talk to Tesla and see if they could put one in locally.
Why not?
Well, you should have. Instead of going to JCP&L, you go to Tesla. The guys that...
I just said, let's check with Tesla.
They did.
As long as Tesla can get past the issue with not having a dealer in New Jersey is required.
Well, I guess who's Tesla's gonna have to ask, JCP&L.
Tesla's battery might be different.
Yeah.
Anything else, Mr.
Or
Walker?
the connection. I wish I had more.
Okay, thank you very
Just
much.
can't think of it right now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Well,
Any other
thank you.
members from the public?
Lady would like.
Yes,
Schwebel.
Carolyn Schwebel
Yes, ma'am.
from Hamilton Avenue in Leonardo. I'm just sitting here thinking, this meeting is so different from the last meeting that I love it. It's actually civil, and it may be partly modeling after our current chairperson. You're doing a good job. There's a certain understanding and listening that's coming through. And I'm hoping that people had a chance to read the civil meeting booklet that I sent from the League of Municipalities, because it has a lot of good suggestions. And take a look at the videotape that Don is so busy doing. That videotape of last meeting was very instructive. I'm wondering, so I think you mentioned using speakers. Are you going to be using those, or are you already during the meeting, the ones in the ceiling you were talking about?
No, those would only be on an as-needed basis. We're not going to use them for regular meetings like
I'm
this.
wondering why not, because you should really have, microphones and stuff under the ADA for regular meetings. I just had worked with the FEMA committee. Someone had complained that they couldn't hear the meeting, and I sent them information that they, no, at the FEMA,
Yeah, I mean,
town
if
stuff.
we had problems with people hearing in here,
Mhm.
then we would use microphones. We haven't really had that
You
problem.
do. I would like to recommend that you use them. As long as you have them here, why not use them? I heard almost everybody tonight. I didn't hear Mr. Fiore too well, or sometimes clerk. I heard you last time. Then I do think that, I have to say, the voter ID is a terrible idea, because it's often used, as you know, to limit people who can vote. It's the extra thing you have to go through, and I'm really dead set against that. And then I have a question, I guess, for Heidi or the attorney. I did put in an Oprah to get the infamous email that I wrote myself and sent to the committee. Mr. Fiore I wanted to see if there were any other communications wrapped around that email.
I'm going to stop you for a minute. One thing that, if you're speaking of an open request, if you've made an open request, the township has seven days to respond to that. What I won't entertain here is any comments with regard to that open request. If that time, based on
That's not what I'm saying.
Based on that period of time, the clerk will certainly get you back any information that's available, but I don't want to entertain any comments with regard to...
No, it's come back. It's come back. That's not my complaint or concern. But I waited the whole 7 days till the end, even though he held it up at the meeting before that. But the question was, it was only my memo with 1 or 2 lines blacked out, what do you call it, redacted in legal terms. And I wrote attorney-client privilege. And the answer when I questioned that was that any communication between the attorney and the township committee is attorney-client privilege. But I've done a little looking into that, Brian, and I don't think any, like say, what if you're saying to the mayor, wasn't that a great MYAA meeting today, game? I don't think that anything is considered attorney-client privilege. Do you have an opinion on that, or could you give,
I'll
is that
save my
privilege
legal
too?
opinions for my clients.
Yes, I pay your salary.
Mr. Schwebel, we won't, this committee, I will not permit any member of this committee this evening or our attorney to comment with regard to your OPA request. We fulfilled your OPA request. If you have any comments based on the fulfillment, you can certainly have counsel reach out to our attorney for those questions. This is not the appropriate setting to ask that question.
I'm just questioning the advice of your
I
attorney.
understand what you're asking, and our attorney's here to give us counsel, not to give you counsel. So I'm telling you now, with regard to your request, okay? You know, you have your answer. You have your answer. So, do you have anything further this evening, Mr. Schwebel?
No, it's just that I think sometimes you're not necessarily getting the legal advice I would wish, because the memo you passed, the ordinance, was also kind of unethical to pass something that is not true.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Schwebel. Anyone else from the public have any comments? Yes, sir.
Yeah, John Schwebel, 79 Hamilton Avenue. I think it's true that the committee is not required to answer any questions, but you also can't restrict the comments that the public makes during the public comment periods, right? So
Not
any,
restricting?
I
You have 5 minutes, sir?
any.
No, you just did.
Any comments, within legal bounds are certainly permissible. I also wanted to make my statement about the public hearing last time on the flawed ordinance that the township passed dissolving the Middletown Human Rights Committee. The public at that public hearing should be able to speak unimpeded by members of the township committee. At that meeting, we presented facts about the Middletown Human Rights Committee showing that the premises of the ordinance were false. Response to that was an ad hominem personal attack on the public speaker. Accusations were made of libel, bullying, plain politics. Those attacks themselves could be considered defamation, and they themselves were not based on facts, they were flawed. The libel claim was false. In fact, it wouldn't even be libel, it would be slander if it was an oral comment. The bullying comment the bullying accusation was false. Plain politics was false, because after all, if you look up the definition of politics, politics is the art of government. Everyone here is involved in politics. Public hearings should allow the public to present their views and their facts without being attacked by the committee. And the behavior of the committee in this regard, in my opinion, was shameful. In summary, instead of dealing with the facts presented at a public hearing by the public, committee members launched an ad hominem attack on the speaker, also with prepared materials showing that this was planned in advance and had no intention of listening to the facts at the public hearing, which should be the purpose of the public hearing. Okay. End of that topic. I also wanted to, seeing that the pastor is here from the Clinton Chapel, I was doing some research on Bertha Heath, who was a former member of the Middletown Human Rights Commission, and I'm sure you're well aware of her.
Yes, I am.
And the good exhibit that they have in Caden Park. They have a whole Heath wing and an exhibit there. And one of the things that they have, if people don't know the history of the Clinton Chapel, it says, the Clinton Chapel on Red Hill Road in Middletown is a remnant of one of Monmouth County's early black communities. The church was founded in 1890 when Clinton Heath's brother Calvin, a Methodist minister, started a small congregation that gathered at the wooded grass near the area known as the Deep Cut. The first Clinton Chapel, African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church, was can't read the word, created in 1910 to serve a community. I don't have the rest of it, but I think the original one was destroyed by fire, and then it was rebuilt, and I can't read this anymore, but I forget the year it was rebuilt. But anyway, there's a good history behind the Clinton Chapel for people that might not be aware of that. And the final thing, I wish I could buy a Tesla in New Jersey, but unfortunately, the governor has not permitted direct sales of the Tesla. So maybe we should consider some other kind of electric car.
Thank you, sir. Any other members of the public? Leo.
Leo Christoffoli, 121 Cranberry Court. I live on the west end of Shady Oaks, Shadow Lake, and I've been very attentive to the ongoing discussions that over the last 2 years, I guess, on this issue. I guess the 1/3 of the lake at the west end was going to be dredged. I believe it, to get it within biddableness, you had to lessen the size of maybe to 1/5 or 1/4 of the west end of the lake. I suggested that the best thing and the least costly and whatever else would be not to dredge the lake, but to drain it and to restore it to a pristine natural state. And thirdly, I have, and lastly, on this issue, that I mentioned that I think the people that own land under the water of Shadow Lake, which land is dredged, they will be willing to pay when the township imposes on them a lien for their cost of the percentage of that part of the lake that's dredged.
Leo, are you volunteering other people's money?
What's that?
Are you volunteering other people's money?
Yes, indeed. Always.
I agree.
And always. And I think the gentleman I spoke, I spoke to one of the two gentlemen before, and he quite agreed with the idea that he should pay his fair share. The next two comments was, I think the township committee has to consider very seriously two resolutions. One is to repeal, as much as drain rather than dredge the lake, to repeal binding arbitration. That will address the problem that in the most recent letter of Councilman Scharpenberger. And if you can't get, the League of Municipalities is trying to beat this thing. You just have to at least try to undo the law, and so that there's no such binding arbitration, which gives always the winning hand in the poker game to the unions, and that's the problem that we're dealing with. Secondly, I have a letter that I'd like to submit for the as a record. It is mid-March 2014 in the Asbury Park Press. It's by Ron Griffiths, Councilman, Freeholder Borough. It basically addresses this tax relief funds that we have not been getting from. I presented this to the freeholders, and they say they will. They will say that they say that they will. Lillian Berry, the freeholder, says she will write a letter based on this and whatever I requested to all 53 municipality governments. So I think this is quite serious, and I think this should be a team effort within the county, and that basically what is to request passage of legislation, obviously from the governor and his staff, obviously from the legislature and the Senate and the Assembly, to restore the authority to municipalities to collect and distribute funds collected from energy, utilities, and business trusts. You must give the full authority to local government at the lowest level, because we know how to do our business.
Leo, there's no one here that would disagree with you with regard to that. I know Committeeman Fiore has something to say on that.
Leo, this committee is already well in advance of the resolution. We've already passed a resolution last year. I brought it up again in our budget introduction. I think we just passed a resolution this year, if I'm not mistaken, two meetings ago, that can be modeled from Freeholder Murray and the freeholders in all 53 communities, all 500 plus communities. Because, let me just be clear, and I cannot agree with you more, energy receipts tax is a skip. The difference in Middletown Township, and the CFO can attest, for this budget, goes from the 2% increase to what would be an 8% decrease in property taxes if we just receive the amount we are supposed to receive. Not even going back for the $30 million that could fund a whole plethora of different tax relief things that this township could have done in the last decade. Just this year is a 10% municipal property tax difference. This will never change. Your taxes municipally will never be able to be decreased without the state continuing to pass its burden on to the municipality, which is what they're doing.
The only way, subsidiarity is letting government at the lowest level to do whatever it can, and never seek any help from above to a higher government level unless they cannot take care of their problems. They've created this problem. The higher government's creating this problem.
Leo, we listen, we agree with your comments, and you know that we're 100% in favor of that. We've been doing nothing but fighting, trying to get that back. Now, in understanding that we want to move on, is have any other speakers?
Just one clarification about Lillian Berry. She says she's going to write a letter. I'm going back there this Thursday and to the 53 municipalities. I'm going back to her and say, I don't want these, write these letters, send these letters, but I want a resolution sent from the freeholders.
The county has it already, ours, but we'll send it again. They have a copy of our resolution we just passed 2 weeks ago.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'll use that information, and I'll get a request through Oakland.
Thank you, Leo.
Thank you very much for the special time.
No problem.
Correct, Leo, one thing, it's the local level, not the lowest level.
What's that? Did I say loco level?
This is the lowest level, local level.
Well,
We prefer local.
Is there anyone else from the public wish to be heard?
Yeah, I think I'm the last one. So Linda Baum, 19 Mid Court, and I have quite a lot on the list here, so I'll try and get through my points very quickly. If I have questions, I'd appreciate if they're yes or no questions, if you would keep your responses short so that I could get through them all, so I'll talk quickly. In no particular order, the attorney-client privilege was mentioned, and that actually does not apply in all cases. I'll give you two real good examples. If somebody puts in an Oprah request and there's a denial, and it's based on an attorney's advice, the person who has received that denial would have a right to know what that advice is, because it could be the basis for a suit. So that person does have that. In that case, it would be public information. Another situation is when a public policy is made based on an attorney's advice. In that case, the public does have the right to know what the attorney advised in relation to that policy. Two quick examples. I should probably jump around and talk quickly. Status of the survey to businesses. I had asked you about this previously. It was announced at the Economic Development Forum in October 2013. It's been 5 to 6 months. Anything going on with that?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be meeting the first Tuesday in May. We have some revisions to it.
Who's we? The Economic Development?
Yeah, and we have some revisions, so we're going to distribute the revised version and then hopefully send it out shortly after.
Sometime after that, okay. Also, just a little good news. I don't know if any of you have checked the well, twice a year, the state treasury puts out a list of persons believed to be the owners of unclaimed property. And I was going through just my area recently, Mr. Sedembrino and Mr. Massell, I'm not sure you're aware of this, but you're on the list, so there's some money out there for you.
Interestingly enough, I stopped at the Red Bank Street Fair and asked that very question at the state of New Jersey kiosk, and they told me I didn't have any money there, but I'll ask again.
That list is not determinative.
Okay, well, that's why I
did
say
get my check
believed to be the owners of unclaimed property. So in any case, in your case, I don't think it was you, it might have been persons in your household, but you are on there. Let's see, regarding energy receipts, we talked about those before, and I was wondering if what we are receiving, if the amount that we're receiving this year is less than what we've received in the past?
The energy, we received $0 with regard to energy receipts tax. However,
I'm sorry, did I state it wrong, what we were referring to, the energy receipts?
What we receive is energy receipts tax, and it's been flat for 4 or 5 years now.
Okay.
Which prior to that, it had decreased.
Okay, so we're receiving, or expect to receive this year, approximately the same dollar amount that we received last year?
Where it's, but it's, by law, it's supposed to increase. There's an implicit deflator rate that's used, and it should be increasing. The utilities who are paying that tax are paying more each year, but it's not being paid back to the municipality.
Okay, I apologize, I don't mean to cut you off, just want to move on here. Just, thank you, that's a thorough answer. There was an interesting idea presented regarding the use of the dredge, if we were to dredge Shadow Lake, the use of that dredge material to support a bulkhead. And my sense was that that material would be placed on the lake area itself behind the bulkhead. And I was wondering if the DEP was actually presented that specific idea.
Yes.
Multiple occasions
They did,
over the
okay.
course of a decade.
Because the material is contaminated with arsenic, they won't let you keep it
Right,
on
okay,
site.
yeah, that I know, okay. Did the bids for the Shadow Lake dredging, did they include the removal of the material? I think the minimum bid was around 5 or 6 million.
Yes, it did.
Okay. Moving on. I also have to agree with Dr. Schwabel regarding the photo ID requirement. I mean, I think statistics on this are pretty clear that, the number of persons who are eligible to vote, who would be prevented from voting by that kind of requirement, especially given the timing of the implementation of those types of requirements where, if they're happening right before elections and people aren't well informed, the number of people who would be disenfranchised is far greater than any total count for fraud avoided. And I think the statistics are very clear on that. So that is my opinion, that it is not a good idea at all. Let's go back here. Again, I'm jumping around. I think there's just one more thing. Just a moment, please. Regarding the discussion on item 13D tonight, it was mentioned that the original cost figure was erroneously changed, and I was wondering, how did the error happen?
That was my error. I prepared a change order that had the wrong contract value, and I caught that and wrote a letter identifying it and attaching a corrected change order to be passed by the committee, which is lowering it to the original contract value.
Thank you, Mrs. Bell.
Yes.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wish to be heard this evening? None being seen, a motion to close the meeting to the public and adjourn.
Deputy Mayor, before we adjourn, I'll close. The only thing I'll just say to Dr. Sharp's point, I believe it was a Democrat, Brendan Byrne, who just celebrated his 90th birthday, who once said that when he dies, he'd like to be buried in Hudson County so he can continue to vote.
Right. Committeeman Fiore.
Yes.
Committeeman Massell. Yes. Committeeman Sharpenberg.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sedembrino. Motion carries to adjourn.